Vanhemman poikani syntymäpäivän aamuna näin erittäin merkillisen unen. Unessa oli naispuolisen humanoidin kanssa synnytysvastaanottohuoneessa. Hän kehotti minua asettumaan sängylle pitkäkseni ja otti esiin injektioruiskun, jolla hän pisti minua vasempaan olkavarteen. Tämä teki kovasti kipeää ja tunsin kivun uneni lävitse. Sen jälkeen hän asettui pitkälleen minun vartaloani myöten sängylle ja sanoi, en jätä hetkeksikään sinua. Kun heräsin, olivat polttoni alkaneet. Jokunen tunti synnytyksen jälkeen, kellon ollessa noin 11 illalla, menin sairaalan tupakkahuoneeseen tupakalle. Tupakkahuoneen ikkunasta näin myös jotain outoa. Naisten klinikan piha oli hyvin valaistu ja oli kirkas kuutamo. Ja tässä kuutamon valossa näin, kuinka lastenhuoneen vieressä seisovan jalopuusen latvassa istui noin metrin pituinen pöllö. Pöllö katsoi vuoron lastenhuoneen ikkunasta sisään ja vuoroin tupakkahuoneen ikkunaan. Minulla oli hyvin vahva tunne, että minua tarkkaillaan ja minun poikani tarkkaillaan.
In the early 1990s, an extensive study was conducted in the United States into the frequency of abductions. Its findings came as a surprise to all. More than 2% of the whole population, at least 5 million people, were found to have had such an experience. Often the abductions had started in early childhood and continued periodically for several decades. Sometimes the abducted suffer from loss of memory concerning their experiences. In such cases, hypnosis and psychotherapy can be used to help them remember. Information received under hypnosis is not, however, any more reliable than normal recall.
Pyöreitä ja valkoista.
Minkä kokoinen se on?
Se on iso. Mä olen siellä sisällä.
Katso, miten sinä olet joutunut sinne. Näetkö, miten sinua viedään?
Tiedän, mä huudan. Mutta ei mitään ääntä tule.
Ääntä ei tule. Kuka sinua vie sinne?
Niitä on paljon.
Ai, niitä on paljon. Kerro tarkasti, millaisia he ovat.
En mä halua katsoa.
Katso, se on filmi, niin kuin videokuva. Et sinä ole siellä itse. Sä näet kuvan.
Mutta niin sydämestä.
Nyt olet suojassa täällä. Se ei ole... Sinä näet sellaisen kuvan vaan siellä. Ja voit kertoa siitä.
Pieniä.
Pienempiä kuin sinä.
Ihan oikea. Nyt on paljon niitä pieniä poikia.
Minkä näköisiä he ovat?
Ne sekin huipeloita. Ne on pitkät kädet. Ne vaan seisoo ja katsoo mua.
Minkälainen asu heillä on?
Ei niillä ole vaatteita.
Ei niillä ole vaatteita.
Sillä yhdellä on.
Onko se sama kokoinen?
Ei, kun se on niistä kaikkein isoin.
Onko hän isompi kuin sinä tai minkä kokoinen?
Samaa isompi vähän. Sillä on valkoinen takki. Mä vaan makaan.
Jonkun päällä vai missä sinä makaat?
Makaan hoitopöydällä.
Hoitopöydällä. Oletko sidottu? Et. Kerro lisää.
Mä en pysty liikkumaan.
Et sinä pysty enää liikkumaan. Katso nyt mitä he tekevät.
Ne vaan seisoo siinä. Ne on siinä niin kuin sen takia, että ne pitää kiinni, jos mä liikun. Miten ne tutkii jollain tavalla.
Kuka tutkii?
Se valkotakinen. Se laittaa mulle jotain sisään.
Laittaa sinulle sisään jotain. Minkälaisessa asennossa sinä olet?
Mä oon selälläni.
Kerro lisää.
Kun se laittaa sitten sen esineen sisään, niin se sanoo mulle, että mulle syntyy poika.
Kysy siltä, että kuinka sinut on hedelmöitetty sitä poikaa saamaan.
Se on laitettu keinotekoisesti minulle.
Se on laitettu keinotekoisesti sinuun. Mutta mistä se solu on alkuaan otettu, kun se ei ole sinusta? Kysy se häneltä.
Se on heidän omiaan.
Se on heidän omiaan.
Mä oon puhunut 4 ulottuvuudesta.
Että he ovat 4. ulottuvuudesta. Jaha, jostakin sellaisesta, jota me emme tässä pääse tavoittamaan. Olivatko ne koko ajan näitä pieniä harmaita poikia, jotka olivat siinä? Vai kuka sinua operoi?
Joo, se valkotakkinen.
Se valkotakkinen.
Se oli mulle vihainen.
Mistä hän oli vihainen sinulle?
No kun mä puhuin koko ajan. Ja heräsin monta kertaa.
Heräsit monta kertaa. Oliko hän sukupuoliyhteydessä sinuun? Ei.
Hän katso korvia.
Hän katso korvia vaan.
Ja sanoi, että toinen on operoitu jo. Että mun pitää nukkua, että hän saa sen toisenkin korvan operoitua. Ja sitten sen nenän katsoi semmoinen pieni poika, joka oli kirkas.
Kirkas? Siis oliko hänellä sellainen kiiltävä asu? Vai millä tavalla?
Niin, se on sellainen valkoisen hohtava iho. Hyvin hohtava iho.
Oliko se ihokin myös tällainen, ettei se ollut vaan se vaate, joka hänessä?
Ei, hänen pääkin oli ihan valkoinen.
Hän oli kokonaan.
Hohtava valkoinen.
Katsoppa eteenpäin, mitä sinulle sen jälkeen on tehty. Ovatko sen jälkeen käyneet?
On ne käynyt. Ne on käynyt antamassa virtaa.
Many critics believe that stories of abduction produced under hypnosis are mere fantasy developed in the subconscious mind. What really happens during hypnotic regression?
Hypnosis is a mechanical system that runs the human thoughts. In hypnosis, your day consciousness is turned off. There are very many ways to do that. Verbal, i.e. sound, into the ear is one. It can be done with lights, through the eye. It can also be done by touching, without a word. We can create hypnosis without any post-hypnotic regression. If the transmitter hypnotizer is strong, a medial being can be hypnotized without knowing it, by a mere telepathic impulse. Then there are the means of hypnotism used by aliens. We've received reports on them in conjunction with UFO matters.
Every third or fourth abduction takes place while the victim is conscious, and therefore their study needs no hypnosis. An abducted woman whose pregnancy is started through artificial insemination may later experience a new abduction, during which her fetus is moved to a special incubator where its development continues. The American Betty Andreasson is one of the best-known abductees. During her abduction, a group of small creatures forced their way into her bedroom one evening and took her and her family for examination inside a waiting UFO. A group abduction can also take place with all members of the group fully conscious.
Tammikuun 24. päivä 1992 kello 11 illalla, kun lähdimme jäähyväispartiosta pois autolla, jossa kutsuilla kaikki ihmiset olivat pukeutuneet avaruusolennoiksi, eeteiksi. Yhtäkkiä huomasimme suuren keltaisen tähden automme yläpuolella, ja minä kommentoin, että se ei ole mikään tavallinen tähti, vaan se on UFO. Se lähti seuraamaan meitä, ja kun olimme ajaneet kohti Geneven keskustaa, niin Gatin kohdalla tullessamme kohti pientä siltaa yhtäkkiä jotakin tapahtui. Me emme kukaan tajunneet ensin, mitä tapahtui, mutta koko kaupunki hävisi, asunnot, rakennukset, kaikki koirat, autot, liikenne vain häivähti. Ja sen jälkeen meitä kiidätettiin hirvittävällä vauhdilla kohti, kuten myöhemmin kävi ilmi, Ranskan rajaa. Kuljimme ilman läpi muutamassa minuutissa, aikaa on vaikea arvioida, ja yhtäkkiä jysähdimme takaisin. Ja tämän jysähdyksen seurauksena huomasimme olevan Ranskan rajalla, jonne ei millään tavalla olisi voitu ajaa sillä tavalla kuin me sen olimme tehneet. Ja olimme samanlaisessa tilanteessa tulossa risteytykseen. Ja kun ihmettelimme, mitä oikeastaan oli tapahtunut, niin totesimme lopulta, että meidät oli yksinkertaisesti nostettu UFOon ja heitetty kaupungin laidalta toiselle puolelle. Ja tämä tulkittiin sitten itse asiassa kiitokseksi ja jäähyväiseksi, eli Bon Voyage Genève.
In a short time, UFO abductions have become a burning issue in the United States, as it's become evident that the number of possible abductions runs into millions. This has resulted in the establishment of parapsychology units within universities for the analysis of such experiences. Over the past 20 years, Robin Quayle has examined more than 16,000 people, 600 of whom have experienced an abduction. Sometimes a contact with an extraterrestrial has led to the cure of a serious illness.
One interesting case that I have been investigating is a case near Atlanta, Georgia, where over 150 people in a large telecommunications company had 2 hours of missing time. There was physical evidence present. There were 5 large burned circles left on the grass surrounding this suburban facility, which had a great deal of wooded areas behind it. The entire computer system was down for 2 hours. The phones were down for 2 hours. The main power cable had melted completely for over 4 feet. This facility is engineered to withstand even a nuclear attack. But the battery backup system melted, and the diesel system to back this system up also failed. So there were 3 systems that failed. One man was trapped inside a lead-lined room where a lot of the main power sources are kept, and he could not get out because the electric doors would not function. 3:30, there was to be a shift change, and yet the people who were to leave at 3:30 found themselves still in the building at 5, and the people who were supposed to come to work at 3:30 found themselves still in their parking lot in their cars at 5 o'clock. It was a highly secured facility. People had to use a card system to get in and out of the doors. So there was like mass confusion. This was over. The security guards reported that people had been seen being taken out of the building by aliens and that they saw spaceships. The security cameras on the outside of the building did function because they were operated on batteries. This case is still under investigation. The two clients have been regressed and worked with and remembered being taken out of the building by small gray aliens with large black oval eyes. And another man who was there also has experienced many out-of-body experiences at work after this. This facility was closed down shortly after this happened, and all the employees moved to other locations. Most were moved out of state. There was sort of a big cover or lid put on this at work, so it was very difficult to pursue an investigation at this company.
One of the most interesting abduction cases is that of the American Lee Haley, who has 2 university degrees, one of them in pedagogics. She worked as a university lecturer until she was dismissed because of her UFO contacts. She's written a book about her experiences entitled Lost Was the Key, in which a special strange feature are officials wearing military uniforms.
I've had experiences with many different types of alien creatures, going all the way back to my childhood. One of the main ones I've encountered is what I call a chalky colored creature, in that it's the color of off-white chalk, an off-white color. It's about 4 to 5 feet tall. It doesn't have any hair. It has huge black eyes, no pupils, no whites, no ears, no hair. All of the creatures look alike. I can't tell whether each one is a male or a female. They all look identical. These creatures have taken me aboard the craft. The method they use to get me aboard their craft is some kind of light, like a beam of light. And I find myself in this energy force that looks like a light field, and the next thing I know, I'm aboard their craft. These creatures perform medical experiments on me. They are extracting ova from me. They scrape tissue samples. They seem to be making a hybrid race. I've also seen aboard their craft the products of what they're doing with their genetic experimentation. I've seen fetuses lying suspended in transparent containers, and the containers are also suspended. I've seen nothing holding them up. Inside the containers lies a little hybrid-looking baby that looks part human, part alien.
One of the really interesting and also very weird aspects of the abduction phenomena is the pregnancies and the subsequent removal of the fetuses. It's almost unbelievable, and yet there seems to be even medical proof that this has occurred in many cases. I have worked with quite a few people who have had this. It seems that people are abducted, artificially impregnated, and then about 3 months into the pregnancy, they are abducted again and the fetus is removed. I wanted to tell about one interesting case where there was a pregnancy involved, where there seemed to be government involvement with the aliens. Now, this young woman was on a military base and was in the Army in the West, here in the United States. She was drugged by the military people under the pretense of having given blood. She was actually almost forced to give blood. And instead of giving blood, they actually drugged her because the needle was put in the back of her hand, which information she uncovered in the actual regression. She was taken down in an elevator to a very deep base beneath the military base, a large freight elevator. She was taken on a gurney by military hospital personnel who took her down. Then she found herself in a room in this deep underground place, surrounded by small gray aliens. She was lying on a table without any clothes on, and the military people who had taken her down were standing against the wall watching the whole procedure. The aliens took the fetus from her body. And this is a woman who stated that she was not having any kind of sexual activity at all. After the fetus retrieval, she found herself in a different room, still underground, with a very blazing white light shining directly down in her face, a very loud, discordant noise going on in the room, and a human man leaning over her face, screaming that she was going to die. Now, this is standard brainwashing techniques. She worked in the blood lab and in the morgue at the hospital there. What is the meaning of these military, or what appears to be military people, being seen on these ships? I mean, Leah Haley has had this type of involvement. Is the government, in fact, assisting and working with the aliens on some project?
For the last couple of years, I've also been receiving telepathic communication from some external source. I don't know where the telepathic messages are coming from, but I've been receiving many of these telepathic communications since May of 1991. And here are some examples of what I've been told telepathically. I have been taught that time is not linear. The message I received was that time is no more linear than the earth is flat, that time can overlap, that time can be contracted, expanded, that there's more than one dimension that can overlap. And actually, time in the way that we use it is non-existent. I was told that it's really space that's important, not time. I was told that all kinds of geological problems are going to occur all over the world, things such as earthquakes, tornadoes, floods, all sorts of things of that nature, and that it's going to be quite serious. I was not given a time frame other than I was told it was going to happen soon, but of course I don't know what soon means. I was shown a vision in my mind of everything on earth being brown. Brown sky, brown water, brown dead trees, brown vegetation that was dead, and was given a vision of a family crawling on their hands and knees after some sort of horrible destruction occurred, and I could tell that the family was dying. They were trying to get to the water, which was very brown, but I knew that if they ever made it to the water, once they drank it, they would die anyway. I knew that this family was doomed. That vision was very upsetting to me. I don't know what it means, other than I felt that it has something to do with some sort of disaster that's going to occur. I believe that that's why I was shown that vision.
One of the best-known examples of abductees who have suffered a terminated pregnancy during their abduction is the American Kathy Davis, whose contacts with extraterrestrials started in early childhood and continued until very recently. They drove her to the verge of suicide, but with the help of a hypnotherapist, she overcame her problems.
I've had many experiences with some life form other than human in my life since I was 5, all the way up until just recently, within a month ago. Most of the time, these beings that I have seen, had the experiences with, are about 4 feet tall, 4.5 feet tall, kind of grayish looking, large heads, really black eyes that kind of look through you rather than just looking at you. I'm pretty sure that it was in I'm pretty sure it was September 23rd, 1993. I was watching TV, and a bright flashing light caught my eye out the front door. We all ran out to look at it, and it was tremendous white light with multitudes of sparkling color in it. And it got very bright and large, and then it got very small and tiny to a pinpoint, and then it kept doing that, getting bigger and littler as it was moving down to the tree line and back and forth across the trees. And at that same time, while we were out in the road, we saw something walking towards us in the road. And we also heard a beeping sound. We have about 15, maybe 10 to 15 minutes of missing time that night. And I had a tumor that had been photographed on an ultrasound machine in my uterus. And then we had this experience, and then when I had the surgery to remove the tumor and have the hysterectomy, the tumor was gone. I had bleeding in the uterine wall, but the tumor was gone. So I tend to feel that something happened that night to remove that tumor. Perhaps it wasn't a tumor. Maybe it was a fetus. I don't know. I had a missing pregnancy that has left a lot of unanswered questions in my life. I've had some memories of that pregnancy. That child was a girl. I remembered seeing her later in life, as an older child, one time, and she was accompanied by those gray beings. I'm not really sure why they've been having contact with me. I don't know why they've been abducting me, other than perhaps because they took my mother at some point before I was born, and they're following genetic lines.
With regard to human women losing babies at 3 to 4 months of pregnancy, we do have those cases here also, and I have investigated 3 such cases myself. In the 3 cases that I looked at, all 3 of the women seem to have become pregnant unexpectedly, and in 2 cases they were led by some process. They were unreceptive to advances, and then they became pregnant without the presence of a husband or a boyfriend. In both cases, they had dreams of being abducted aboard a spacecraft and being artificially impregnated. And in both cases, the babies were taken at about the 3rd month, and they were taken in such a way that the mother was pregnant up to that time and certified so by the doctors, and then she lost the baby overnight without a great loss of blood, woke up the next morning and suddenly she is not pregnant. She goes back to the doctor, and the doctor says, we don't know what happened to the fetus. In both cases that I make reference to, there were 2 being types, creature types aboard the craft. There were beings, humans like us, and other smaller beings that would be one of the gray species, commonly called grays. The grays seem to be the ones doing the technical work, and the humans seem to be supervising the operation. We don't know whether it's an experiment in manipulating genetics, in cross-hybridizing species, or what. In one of those cases, the mother was later shown a crossbreed child that was quite different from us, but nothing like the alien hybrids seen aboard the spacecraft. Well, what's the meaning of all this? And why do UFOs approach mankind at all? It appears in the course of investigating over 100 cases in great detail that the extraterrestrials find Earth a very attractive place to visit. Where dialogue has taken place, the comment is frequently made that this is a wonderful laboratory to study life in evolution. They say that this planet has a greater variety of species in all classes and kinds and types than any other planet they visit. They say that this planet also has peculiarly short lifespans for all living creatures. And they suggest that this may be produced by the cosmic rays or rays coming from a particularly harsh sun that came through when the Earth lost its protective envelope, and the creatures on the surface were able to see the sun and the stars for the first time. And this was after the mythical flood in all of the legends of the planet. So maybe we are an attractive laboratory because of our peculiarly short lifespans at this time, which produces a rapid rate of mutation and adaptation of form and species and differentiation in evolution.
Implants found under the skin in different parts of the body of the abducted are another interesting object of study.
Our research is a little different in Houston. I have taken a proactive position in reference to the alien phenomena. Basically what that means is I'm not going to wait 200 years for the aliens to show up and do or say whatever they want to tell us. So what I've done is installed information within abductees that are getting picked up every 8 weeks or so, people I'm comfortable with, that this is happening. I install a post-hypnotic suggestion to the abductors from me. This is information that only they know, so therefore it would cause an alarm to them, in my opinion, if this works. I install amnesia so that the individual doesn't even know the information's there and so that the aliens can't pick it up. This happened on the 24th of November. A lady was picked up that night in Florida. She was one of our people. And in the middle of her abduction, as they're hauling her away, she looks over it, the post-hypnotic suggestion takes place. She literally wakes up out of her trance that they put her in, and she says, "Daryl knows what you're doing." This apparently alarmed the tall, what they refer to sometimes as a brown alien, as he's standing there. He apparently told whoever sent him that information. They picked up all of our people on December the 8th in 2 states, in Florida and in Houston, Texas. A 44-page report was written by us about those events. All those people under regressive hypnosis described the same place, the same events, the same aliens. There were 7 different aliens that showed up on that craft. They wanted to know one primary thing. The primary thing they wanted to know was, how is he finding out this information? Why are you all gathering together? Why are you doing what you're doing? How did you able to find this out? The tall Nordic-type blonde alien that was in charge of this, with the other aliens, chided the little small grays and the browns for not following procedures. That these abductees would never know what happened to them if you would use the anesthesia. You're traumatizing them and they're finding out how. You should never have done this. This is a picture, a larger picture, of course, of the eye implant in the mass abduction. This is the ocular implant that came out of the lady's eye, that fell out of her eye. On December the 10th, the morning of December the 10th, when all these people were picked up in 2 states and their nasal and ocular implants removed. This is one that they forgot. This implant was examined by people at the University of Houston. It was determined not to be biological. It is not an egg of an insect. It's not a grain of sand. It's not anything like that. It was examined to have high levels of titanium and beryllium. The grays and the browns, believe it or not, are actually not that intelligent. They're quite sloppy. That's the reason we have so many physical implants and evidence from them. We also have a nasal implant. People talk about having implants in people, but we actually have the implants out. We also have other implants in people's feet in 2 different cases that the doctors, medical doctors, have stated that there is no that these were surgically installed, and these people have never had a surgery, apparently. This is a remarkable case. It's one of the first cases I worked for the Houston UFO Network. It's a case where a lady has multiple abductions and tremendous amounts of information. She is very phobic about her experiences, has been very greatly traumatized. She experiences past syndrome, or something very similar to post-traumatic stress syndrome. In her feet, we found in this x-ray, which is made in 1986 by an independent medical doctor, he notices 3 metal clips inside her feet. So the question is, how did these metal implants get in her feet? They're approximately 1/4 inch long. There are 3 of them. The doctor says they were surgically installed. The same metal implants that were in this lady's foot, later we find out are in the mother's feet as well. This is often This often occurs whenever multiple abductions are taking place within a family. So the same implants are in the lady's foot. We find these out, these particular metal implants, in the mother's feet as well. Just before she dies, they do a medical workup on her, and they find that they just happen to x-ray her everywhere, and they x-rayed her feet and found the same metal implants in hers as well.
Although the abductions which have occurred in the United States have caused the biggest sensation, it's become evident that the same phenomena occur everywhere in the world, including Russia. After the opening of KGB files and other official sources, several cases of apparent hybridization experiments have emerged.
The incident occurred near Pinkova in the village of Okolovka. A woman claimed to have been pregnant twice, impregnated by an alien. The alien appeared to her in a dream. Twice, she also gave birth in her 4th or 5th month to a bluish, beeping, furry being. We sent an expert over, a colonel in the Secret Service, who investigated the matter. The study showed that she was speaking the truth. We got further confirmation at a symposium last year, in which an American, Dr. O'Neill, gave a speech on 150 similar incidents.
A special institute has been established in Kazakhstan, in former Soviet Central Asia, which prepares people for encounters with alien civilizations. The latest so-called fifth-degree contacts of the Institute's research group took place in November 1992.
I'll tell you of a few incidents that had occurred when we were trying to establish a contact. Our expedition was working at 4,000 meters in the Tianqian Mountains, and we saw UFOs fly over almost daily. They've been captured on photographs, slides, and even on videotape. The incident lasted 2 minutes. We learned that our invitation had been accepted, and a UFO was approaching the place we were working at. We'd sent our cameraman about a kilometer away, where a parapsychological group was working to make contact. Together, we sighted an alien intelligence contacting us. A globe-like object approached us. Of course, we photographed it, and it can be seen clearly on film. It hovered above our group for about 2 minutes, changing its shape, brightness, and size. Finally, when the photographer realized what he was shooting, he got excited and started shaking. He couldn't hold the camera and had to stop shooting. When studying contacts with extraterrestrial intelligence, we have noticed that UFOs often fly over geologically active areas. There are plenty of areas like that in the Tianqian Mountains. Every time there's a major earthquake, an unidentified flying object observes it. A Central Asian group of experts is trying to find out whether these UFOs cause the earthquakes, or could they in fact affect the earth crust so that the quake either has lesser force or moves elsewhere.
A global program aimed at fifth-degree contacts has been started in the New World too. Leading researchers working in the Gulf Breeze area of Florida have obtained very convincing evidence that at least 5 civilizations have visited Earth. Their aim in 1995 is to establish direct contact with extraterrestrial visitors.
Back in March of last year, I was with a group of 39 people sitting on the beach in Pensacola Beach, just south of Gulf Breeze. We got up, started drawing. Dr. Stephen Greer was leading this group of the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, drew triangles in the sky with a very powerful spotlight, and 3 UFOs showed up right where he was making the triangles. Some of them interacted or reacted to his flashing of the spotlight, and then they moved away and kind of faded off, and 2 more appeared, and we kept trying to get them to come toward us, and they did come 0.8 of a mile closer to us. They were seen by 3 different groups of the Gulf Breeze research team. There was another group in the Del Champs parking lot on 98. The UFOs first appeared right in the middle between the 3 groups. We have actual reports during that period of 10 minutes or so, 10 or 12 minutes, from 7 different locations, 52 witnesses, all signed written statements. It was a well-investigated, interesting, close encounter of the 5th kind. That is a human-initiated encounter with some alien vehicles.
I can relate an experience, if you would like to know about it, from earlier this year in February, where a senior research team that CSETI has assembled was activated and sent to Mexico. And over the past year and a half, we have succeeded on a number of occasions of establishing contact with extraterrestrial spacecraft. On more than one occasion, huge extraterrestrial spacecraft at point-blank range, within 300 feet altitude. And these spacecraft were much larger than a 747. We estimate anywhere from 3 to 4 times the diameter and size of a 747. They were perfectly triangular, with a light at each apex and a red one in the center. And they came in a landing approach mode on February 1st, 1993, signaling to the team back and forth. At a distance, there is film footage of these craft at a distance, but when it was very close, all cameras failed. Every electronic device on the site failed, which was very distressing to us because we wished to get this on film. Luckily, we had 5 scientists there and researchers who have been able to give their testimony to this event. And from what that event demonstrated, to go from there to a landing would have been 1 more minute. And I think that it is just a matter of time until our teams are successful in doing that. In the 12-month period from February 1992 until February 1993, we had no fewer than half a dozen very close-range, interactive, what we call a close encounter, the 5th kind event. And this is what we have termed these. This is where humans intentionally establish contact with the spacecraft, and they answer back. So it's human-initiated or human cooperative. This is a very different thing than just being out someplace and having one fly by and you happen to see it.
I think there is a transformation taking place on this planet, not only of the human species, but of the planet itself. I suspect that the end result of this transformation is probably what Jesus described as heaven on earth. However, if you think about that seriously, that entails the end of the human experience on planet Earth. That is a frightening idea to many people, especially people who are not capable of understanding what's going on. And I think that's one reason why our governments have maintained a policy of secrecy on this. Nobody in any government, any elected government, can afford to face the media on the issues. I find that higher intelligences are involved in educating members of our government also. There is a document that's been released to certain well-placed UFO investigators recently that I call the WRI document. It's apparently a result of a sociological study that the Majestic 12 group had contracted for with the Warwick Research Institute, which is associated with the University of Warwick in England. It's several paragraphs explaining how essentially the covert educational program is progressing, how it's affecting society, and how it might be speeded up at the present time.
The worst thing that would happen would be to bring this information out in a way that would panic society and which could cause people to lose hope for the future. And I think that we have to be responsible in what we are saying and doing. And this is a very key point to this second phase of the CSETI project, is that our intentions to brief world leadership and to brief the world are to do it in a way that are non-harmful to the consciousness of humanity. I think it is safer to say that we are being visited, that there's no evidence that they have hostile intentions, none whatsoever, and that therefore it is our responsibility to reach out to them and to try to establish an open contact so that we can really learn why they are here, how we may assist them if their desires are consonant with human evolution, and to keep the speculation to a minimum, because, as a very famous man once said, I think we have nothing to fear but fear itself.
Keskeisellä alueella universumia on eräs tärkeä planeetta nimeltään Xenos. Se on tärkeä monestakin syystä. Ensinnäkin hyvin monet muut sivilisaatiot ulkoavaruudessa pyytävät xenoslaisilta apua aina tarvitessaan. Neuvoja ja muita tietoja. Muun muassa siriuslaiset ovat aikoinaan lähteneet Xenokselta, eli he ovat sukulaiskansoja. Xenos on tällainen violettiplaneetta väriltään. Ja minulla on ilo muistaa eräs matka heidän mukanaan. Siitä on pari vuotta aikaa, kun oli kevät-talvi, tai oikeastaan oli vielä talvi, kun eräänä yönä minä heräsin siihen, että makuuhuoneeni ikkunoista, joita minulla on 3 ilmansuuntaan, tuli ikkunasta toisensa perään mahtavat värit. Ja kello oli 1:15 yöllä, kun minä sängyssäni istuin sydän pompottaen. Joku oli herättänyt minut. Mä katselin tätä ilotulitusta ja ajattelin, että mitä ihmettä tämä mahtaa olla. Jälkeenpäin minulle selvisi, että juuri sinä yönä minä olin ollut matkalla heidän mukanaan Xenoksella saakka.
Contacts with humanoids have been made all over the world, bringing to the people involved various parapsychic skills, such as telepathy and clairvoyance.
Nämä asiat, mistä minä kerron, ovat kenties vaikea uskoa. Minä olen kanava, joka olen ottamassa näitä tietoja vastaan ja välitän niitä teille. Minä olen syntynyt tähän elämään juuri sitä varten, että elämäntehtäväni on tiedon välitys. Kertoa niin henkimaailman taholta kuin ulkoavaruuden olennoilta tietoa meille ihmiskunnalle. En ole ainoa, muitakin on. Ympäri maailmaa on tällä hetkellä inkarnoituneena tällaisia henkilöitä, joiden elämäntehtävä on sama. Minulle on kerrottu myös ihmiskuntaa koettelevista tulevaisuuden tapahtumista. Ensimmäisiä niistä muistaakseni on valtavan pyrstötähden tai komeetan sivuaminen maapalloa. Se tulee hyvin, hyvin lähelle ja siitä irtoaa, tai se räjähtää hyvin lähellä maapalloa. ja siitä lentää suuri kappale Suomeen, lähelle suurta asutustaajamaa. Ja sen koostumus tulee herättämään tiedemiehissä tavattomasti kiinnostusta. Ymmärtääkseni tämä komeetta ei aiheuta mitään täällä katastrofia. On kerrottu myös tällaista valtavasta suurkatastrofista, joka tulee koskettamaan koko meidän maapalloa. Meidän akselimme tulee kallistumaan muutaman asteen tämän hetken näkymien mukaan. Ja se aiheuttaa valtavaa tuhoa maapallolla. Meret siirtyvät ja peittävät alleen valtavia alueita. Se aiheuttaa myös mannerlaattojen liikkumista, tulivuoren purkauksia ja valtavia ilmastollisia muutoksia. Tämän jälkeen ihmiskunta ei ole enää samanlainen. Ja tähän kaikkeen todennäköisesti ei kulu enää 10 vuotta. Ja tavallaan se on jo kaikki alkanut. Kun tämä suurkatastrofi tulee ajankohtaiseksi, niin meidän avuksemme tulee valtavia määriä ulkoavaruuden olentoja. He tulevat ikään kuin evakuoimaan meitä täältä. Minulla ei ole kovin paljon siitä tietoa, mutta tiedän, että me saamme apua ja se kaikki tulee ulkoavaruuden muilta älyllisiltä olennoilta.